Welcome to the True Love Secrets Revealed. We have today with us Dr. Gary Salyer. I am so excited about having him again. We did enjoy his wisdom and expertise last year on our second summit, I believe, and now he's back with more. And this man, he's amazing. He's amazing. He's so knowledgeable. He's a transformational relationship mentor, and he offers singles and also couples heart-centered transformation so they can rewrite the rules for love in their brains and create a love that lasts. Thank you for being here, Dr. Salyer. Such a pleasure to see you again.
It's good seeing you again. I always have a good time chatting with you, Natalia. It's always fun.
Same here. And ladies, I want you to send him a message on the comments, because if you allow me, can I share the big news, Dr. Salyer?
Sure, you may share the good news.
In 11 days, Dr. Salyer is getting married. And I'm so excited. I get goosebumps when I say it. We love love, and this is a celebration of love. That's what you're doing in a way, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've been together over 5 years. And, I was never lonely. I knew, especially after my second divorce, where I thought I had to get married, Well, that didn't turn out so well, So I knew it was about finding the right one. Always knew I'd find her. I knew that because it's a matter of choice. You do the work and I just knew there was a woman a good woman out there. Because I work with them all the time. I know there's no shortage of good women and good men out there. It was just a matter of when the timing was right, and then we made that choice. So it's and it just feels like taking the next step. It's and I'm calling this my month of joy, October.
Oh,
Yes.
love it, love it. I just loved what you said. I resonate with that so much, that you never doubted it was something that was going to happen. And I feel in the same way. I never doubted it either. I have never doubted that. Even today, God forbid, my husband, I love him so much and I hope to die with him, but you never know. I don't doubt that there is always going to be love for me. Why do you think some women doubt that?
Gosh, there are people that doubt it, and I think there's multiple reasons. Most of the time, there is a feeling of unworthiness. Now, how they got it, it's unworthy, or it's the other one is disempowered. I'm hopeless and helpless, or I'm not deserving. That's the first track. And a lot of times that feeling of unworthy travels with us. It travels from childhood. I can still remember working with a woman who was in her early 70s, and she had never been married. And after the first session, she comes back. We had worked on how unworthy her father made her feel. And without me ever saying it, she walks in the second session after that feeling of worthy, because we worked on helping her brain feel worthy at a deeper level than just vision board stuff. She walks in and says, "So that's the reason I never married. Deep down, I never felt worthy of a man's love." Bingo. Yahtzee. And the funny thing was, she walked in saying, "Now I'd like to be able to get in a relationship, but don't ask me about getting married. I don't want that. I'm too old and all that stuff, right?" And then she goes, "Okay, we can talk about getting married."
Ah,
that feeling of worthy or disempowered. And if it's not childhood, let's face it, we can all get caught in a buzzsaw of a relationship time that does a job on our self-esteem. And so it's recovering that. And I think something else, is there are shenanigans that get played on all of us along the road to love. And if we harbor that pain and we keep these people in our hearts, right? The squatters, I call them. If we allow them to squat and take up, and all that pain, because pain doesn't attract love. It creates protector parts. It creates stances, and our body resonates it. And so when the secure come along, they notice that it's not a clean space for love. We don't know we're giving out those signals. So it's either unwelcomed or unworthy or disempowered that stops us, or we have a grievance and we just haven't given up the pain. We keep it close to our heart as an effort to say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Oh, yes, yes.
So we're looking out for it, and we need to have an open space. We got to kick the squatters out. If that's mom, if that's the ex, if that's whoever is the squatter, we got to get them out.
Right, right. So true, so true. I love it. Your terminology. That's very good. I never heard about that before. I
Well,
said
after my first divorce, I went through a period of generalizing. You know how our brain generalizes?
right.
And I was in sessions with my therapist at the time, and I was starting to use the word all women, all women. And then she would come back. It was a mantra, some women, some women. And I would say all, and she would say some, right? And I was at a party once. Oh, this was many years ago, okay, and decades ago. And I started saying that around an hors d'oeuvre table at a party, and there were 4 women who were listening in and listening. And then this one African American woman said to me, "Boy, I'd like to meet the woman that did the number on you." It was one woman, wasn't it? Just one. She just called me out. It was just one, wasn't it? And so when you hear a lot of people saying all women, or some, or all men, some men. Yes, on the internet is full of some, jerks, but not all men, right? Not all men are scammers looking at you. Not all men are ghosters. Some. And if you feel worthy and empowered, if they ghost you, it's like they're lost. It keeps you resilient. So, keeping the grievance out, so you don't have your defenders, and feeling worthy and feeling empowered. I always knew that it was a matter of choice. I didn't believe love was due to luck. It wasn't luck that got me here. It was doing the work.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. I could say that that all or nothing, black or white mentality, mindset. It's a block to intimacy and to love. Could we say
Right.
that? And even if we don't know it, other people like this woman, we can feel it, we can see it. Is that unseen energy that we're like, yeah, he's cute, he's okay, but there is something about him that kind of repels me. Have you discovered any other blockages to intimacy that could be unconscious in
Yeah.
women?
Hopelessness.
Okay.
Now, you think that hopelessness is kind of the result of things. But what if it could be the cause of the dating patterns? People think hopelessness, and sometimes it is, this is not either or. And what I noticed a long time ago was, you hear it's hopeless. They're all gone. There's
Mm,
no one for me. You hear that a lot. And what I noticed, it was one thing when a woman was in her 60s or 70s or 50s saying it, but when I heard women in their 20s and 30s and 40s saying it, something clicked on it, and I said to myself, wait a second, something's going on with hopelessness that isn't about odds, chances, and actuarial tables for love. This is not about statistics. It's about safety. Not about statistics, but about safety. And I began to realize that when there is pain, and some part says, I have to protect. We don't want to get in another relationship and have this again. Some part starts deleting all the good ones. It's a
mm,
filter. Hopelessness is a filter that deliberately says, there's a good one. Oh, no, don't go over there. And it's a scammer, right? It deletes the good possibilities so that you don't get in a relationship and get hurt again. It's safety pattern. A
right.
lot of hopelessness is our brain trying to protect us. It's
Oh,
one of those little traps for love that gets set. And
right.
so that is one of them. If we don't release that pain, then there's protection. Then there's a filter that says, how do I keep, and the brain is keeping you out of a relationship for fear you'll get hurt again.
Right. So
Now,
we think it's a
it took me a
friend.
while to figure out what was going on with some of the cases. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I can still remember doing one of my live workshops some years ago.
Mm.
And there was, we were about 4 hours into a whole weekend, right? And a guy raises his hand. He's one of five, right? And there's about 60 women, 60 women, about five guys, right? And it's sharing time. And he was saying that there are no, I'm sorry, doctor, sorry, there's just no good women out there. And I thought back to myself, many years before, so I knew where this guy was coming from. It was one bad woman, but I didn't go there with him, right? Maybe two, right? And all I did is I said, ladies, any good women in here? And every hand goes up, and I go, look around.
Right.
These women are here working on love. These are the good ones. And your brain tells you that you're in a room with 55 other women. I'm not telling you to go hit on her, on anybody. I just want to be clear about that. But just look around. Your brain isn't noticing. You're in a room with 55 women who are all looking for love. Many of them are your age. And you're telling me there's no good women here?
Right.
He goes, all right. Now that's how it works. He's in a room where the smorgasbord is laid out before him, and he thinks it's all crackers and watercress.
It's so tricky. It's so tricky. These things we can see on our own, and they feel to us as if it's our friend, hopelessness or fear, or it's like our friend, but actually it's our con, it's our enemy, it's what is keeping us from getting what we really want.
Yeah, and we can load up the defenses. I think that's one thing that stops us. We call front facing your problems. There's two ways that goes. Have you ever heard people that go on a first date and they're telling you all the things that are wrong with them because they're so afraid of being rejected? Let's just get it out of the way first. Right. That doesn't work for attraction. It just doesn't. Front facing your problems doesn't work. And then there's the other one where you're looking for it, right? Be honest with you. When it was kind of a cute conversation, we had been dating maybe a month, right? And she says to me, so I've had men that had problems, with, the fact that I travel a lot and speak around across the country and all those good things. She's a financial advisor because I have to go and train people sometimes. Will you have a problem if I'm gone a week? And I looked and I said, so I happen to travel around the country too. Speaking for love. And sometimes I'm gone for 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Will you have a problem?
Oh my goodness.
I said, I think I can handle you. I think I can handle it. I said, if you're going for 6 months, we're going to talk. And I think that was, and I said, we're going to handle each other fine.
Right.
And I think, but if you do that too much.
Yes.
Then if you're either fronting your own or sorting. I mean, I just worked with a woman who had to bring up a big, hairy issue that had no big being brought up on a first date, right? Mm-hmm. And at that point, or before the first date, right? It's like, no, go on a first date, see if there's any chemistry. You don't have to have your list before you ever go, wow, this isn't, You'll never know if you do that too much. The good ones are going to say, okay, this one's got stuff they're bringing into it, and rightly so. So let's work on that payment. So that you're not bringing it into a first date. That way the next doesn't pay for the X.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, these are the little practical things. We want to walk in with two things: a clean space for her love.
Right.
And we want to walk, and a lot of people are thinking it's about finding the right one. And I can tell you, Natalia, that didn't work for me. That didn't. Oh, I had some pretty good ideas who I needed and what I needed, but I had to do the work to show up as Mr. Right.
Right.
And it was
what do you mean with that exactly?
Well, 20 years ago, when I was looking at a painful breakup, and then that And then I realized, son, I was shaving and I stopped right here. And I said, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you're the only one causing this. You're the only one causing this. And I realized I had shown up as Mr. Wrong. No ifs, no
Mm,
buts. And there was literally a sick feeling in my guts.
mm,
And because I had always been a man of high virtue and moral vision and all that, and I had to say, what part of you is sabotaging this relationship? Because this one should have worked, and you're the only one. This one right there, you know.
right.
And that's the work I had to, And at one point in time, it wasn't about finding Ms. Right; it was about becoming Mr. Right. And I
Right.
think a lot of times, what helps so you're off the hamster wheel of dating if you're is how do you show up and how do you become a real couple? Are you good with repair? Are you good at responding to bids? Are you good at really tracking their love maps? Can you build real partnership? Do you have those skills, especially the repair bills, the attune the and anyway, the repair skills and the attuning? If and a lot of people work on initial attraction, and you're 5 or 6 dates into it, and you start doing couple dynamics, and you're bringing in all those protector parts, all those reactive states, and then you think after 6 months, well, we just weren't compatible. No, the research is clear. It wasn't about compatibility or even chemistry in a lot of these cases, or even values. It was because you didn't know how to build and keep what Gottman's would call a marital friendship. You didn't know how to make the repair. And so the biggest thing is to everybody wants to feel loved. You know, that's why this works. I do a good job. I hope we're going to feel loved.
Yes, I think so. And I think in my belief, in my line of coaching, we all want to feel loved, but we forget that we are not here to feel loved. We are here primarily to love.
Yeah.
And it goes along with what you said, it's up to us, because if we are, it's all, at the very beginning, I think it's all about what love is and what do we expect
Mhm.
about love and marriage and relationships. I think there is a big, big disconnect between what we could think that we are going to get. It seems like we get, if we are unconscious, if we haven't done any work, if we are just doing life from a survival standpoint, it seems like we feel like we are going to get so much out of
Yes.
being in a relationship. And yes, we will, I think we will, but it's going to be like the common, it's going to be the result of us giving.
Exactly. It's a right to love and be loved. And everybody, let's face it, on this planet, everybody is looking to get love back. So if you're thinking about this wish list, this Christmas wish list, you're setting yourself up for failure too, because you're not letting that serendipitous aspect. You're already defining who people should be, and you're not allowing them to love them on their terms. For them to love you. There was never a moment I actually thought that I would marry an Argentinian. you know, I never saw 4 in the morning when she wakes up and I go, "Hun, you're speaking in Spanish." Can you?
That's because you have never met an Argentinian, because we are so lovable.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
am from Argentina too. No, do you
I
remember?
know that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that she's a big meat and potatoes girl, and you know.
When I go visit you, you know what to cook us. Just
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I went to a steakhouse once with my son, sent a picture. It was for Father's Day about 5 years ago. And she she texts back, "What's that green thing on your plate?
I
You
know.
you do not get broccoli at
Oh
Galpal
my
Steakhouse.
goodness.
Get that
We
thing off
get,
your plate."
we
And that's it's that sort of banter though. And those are the moments. I mean, I love the banter. There are small moments. We look at all these big ticket items and expectations, but love is won and lost in small moments. You know, we have a blast laughing with each other. I don't know. I mean, I could say I want humor, someone that would maybe even like my sense of humor because can give it quirky a little bit. But there are so many things that are beyond or not, or just didn't enter into my expectations. And I think that's another thing that stops. I've had clients that have come in on a second or or third session, and they've got a PowerPoint slide or an Excel spreadsheet with one had like 65 things, another one had 57. Well, it's a setup for failure. For one, it getting one person who has all that it's everyone is a less and less checkpoint. There's less and less percentages, but it also, as I said to all three of them, so what's it going to be like when that person wants everything on that list back?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's what the list feels like to somebody else. And if you think about it, dating apps are a great way of feeling rejection. I mean, you go out there and you see these long lists and people are using compatibility lists. Oh my God, I do Pilates, but I don't do yoga. What if you're like me and I don't do either?
Yeah.
Right? And I tried Bikram yoga once, and it just didn't sit with me very well. I stretch, I do a few other things, but these things, and what we know from the research is having 4 or 5 important ones and dropping the rest and using the relationship dynamics. And I define that as, instead of looking for compatibility, do you feel in your heart welcomed with joy, worthy to reach out and have your needs met, cherished and protected? You get to be a me in a we, an empowering, cherishing we, and you get to feel empowered with choice. If you feel welcome, worthy, cherished, and empowered, and that's the key. Because who cares if you do if the dude likes Pilates? As one client came in, yeah, he likes Pilates. He likes checking out the women. Not so not so cherished, not
Yeah.
so worthy, right? And guess what? Some part of her brain that felt unworthy and uncherished picked this guy because they could pick that up because that was all the right she had to. So the compatibility list is all this, but this part is using way different criteria. And if you
Right.
don't clean it up, if you don't get it to be using welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered, and not so much unworthy, it's not going to work. It will find people with the compatibility list, but who give you the wrong feelings.
Right.
So if you want to know how to navigate it after 5 or 6 dates, you're just looking at a couple months maybe. Do I feel all these feelings? Yes, you're in a pretty good relationship. Let's see if now we can build trust, right? If not, move on.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
have a question. I'm sorry if it's a little bit off subject. I was hearing what you were saying. That was amazing. I don't want to forget it. Uh, what is your advice for women that go on dates and they finally find a guy that they like and they just think he's the one?
And
What?
he didn't. And they
Mhm.
think he's the one. Okay.
Right. So
And what's his response? What's his response?
well, it's the first, second, or third date. So
Okay.
they feel that he's the one. He's telling her the right things, He's in 2024, there is so much advice on the internet
Yes.
that you have to be living under a rock to not know as a man that if you text the woman the next day, if you open the door for her, the car door, if you pay for the meal, that's gonna immediately make her feel like he's the one.
Yeah.
So they are doing those things, but are they don't know each other. So how that woman can, because they can't really slow down I
Yeah.
see it with my clients. They are like, no, and I can see it on their faces in the way when they look at me, when they're telling me. And I am like, oh my God, you need to slow down. But what kind of tools, or I don't know, do you have any advice in this case?
Well, a lot of that is attachment. Okay. Now, if someone is saying, oh my God, they're the one because they opened a car door and they paid for a date, you've got pretty low standards for what the one is. Opening a car door doesn't take a lot. What
Right.
is the right?
But there is not
That's
much,
that's pretty low. Yeah.
yeah.
You have to look at, I call this, it could be in a lot of instances, a hope structure, what I call. When people feel unwelcomed or unworthy and they've had a series of bad relationships, maybe going back to childhood. Some part of us needs to have hope. And you say one day they'll show up. And the worst part about that's hope, especially if it goes back to any childhood parts, is children will idealize. Think of it, it starts off as, yes, I have a devil parent here, but one day they will be an angel parent and then they'll love me. If there is any of that stuff working, then you show up, oh my God, here comes my next angel. And they don't get a right to be, and of course, all of us have our flaws, our faults, and all that stuff. And it is projecting instead of allowing the relationship to come to you. It's a formula for heartbreak. It's a formula for getting used. The unscrupulous man will look at that and say, hey, where I'm going to get laid in the next 3 dates. And none of that really works for lasting love. I'm just being honest how that rolls. And it sets you up to be prey if it's done wrongly. Occasionally, I have heard of couples that met each other and they were full on. They knew the first couple, when they first laid eyes on each other, but they're outliers. Yes, that happens. Sometimes people walk across the street without looking. They don't get hit by a car too. I wouldn't make that a general rule of doing so. Not if you want to stay on the planet. So, it is best to allow people to show up. And what I have found in my own personal experience, around 2 months into a relationship is when people can find their true selves show up. They can't hide their stuff forever. And so you want to be able to let love show up. This is about, if you're really looking for a lasting relationship, you're looking for the signals, not of chemistry. That's an important part, not just a compatibility, but you're looking for lasting. And that is, can they build a we with me? Are they partner material? This cannot show up on a first date. No, it just can't. So if you're setting your sight up to find a lasting relationship, you can't have these developmental incompletes and holes that have got to be filled right away. You've got to, that's why I said I was not desperate. I have lots of purpose, and because I felt like I was full of love and I had a lifestyle of helping love on the planet, it took off the pressure. And therefore I could allow the right one to show up in that time. And that's a lot better way to do it. And there's also some things, when you're in these sort of situations, this is the one. Just remember that our brains are kind of wired to do dopamine rushes based on physical attraction. And we do need attraction. I don't know anybody that doesn't want to feel sexy with their partner. Okay. And when that isn't there, there will be problems. You can mark that. But past a certain amount, let love show up. Don't give it an agenda. I even when I've heard love coaches say these 90-day programs to find your soulmate, I get real weird about
Oh
that.
yes! Oh my God!
No,
Market
not that.
strategy. That's a market. I had a client asking me the other day, this coach is promising, and I'm like, no, that's a marketing strategy. It sounds good on social media. It sounds good on an advertisement, but she doesn't mean that. She means she may help you to be more healed or whatever, but
Yeah.
nobody can promise you that. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's like saying 3 months to win the lottery. I'm like, well, it's, I don't know. But people
Yeah,
take it so, some people, some people take things so, by the word. They just believe everything other people said. And
yeah. And I've learned that you know sometimes the soul has its own timing. That's
yeah.
you don't always hear that because it's not great marketing. Sometimes it does, and there's a certain amount of trial and error. I can just remember one woman I worked with. She was 60,
Mm.
okay, or she's 62, 60, 62, and she'd been in a 25-year bad marriage, you know,
Mm.
really bad marriage, right? And so
Oh,
she had said, "No way, in God's green earth am I going to have this again," right? And then she found out that it was a little lonely during COVID. And then she got thinking maybe I deserve more. And deep down, she had felt so unworthy and uncherished, not just from the loveless marriage, but from childhood. We worked through that, and when she started really dating again, it took her about 6, 7 months. And she was real organized. She went through 15 guys on, and she was using these four feelings: welcomed, worthy, cherished, part, and the we. She was using that, and some guys she date 5, 6, 7 times, and some of them she knew after the first or second date. And she had it all in an Excel sheet where she was learning, and she was writing out what lesson did I learn. So,
yeah.
and then on number 16, the guy shows up, right? And she's, and now, and let's see, oh, they were engaged about a year later and married about 2 years later.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
And that's the difference using and she was using do I feel worthy with this guy, do I feel cherished by this guy, is there a we here? And if that wasn't showing up pretty well, next. She would, and she, she had a high powered job and she understood how to do next, having been in executive circles. And then it's so cute, she goes, yeah, but she goes, oh my God, he's so hot. But she waited for him to show up, she did. And I think, when you look at that, and I told her, there's a certain amount of numbers game here. Don't expect it to show up the first time, and don't let, oh, well, I'm back to being unworthy. It just means that there's a certain numbers. Ariel Ford talks about that. You go through a certain number, and whether it's 80 or 8, I don't care. Everybody says the same thing. It was worth. Now,
Absolutely.
what you need in between is resilience. And resilience comes from feeling worthy, especially, and empowered. If you know it's about choice, not luck, that's feeling empowered.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
doesn't have to do a guilt trip. It just, and just because they haven't shown up yet doesn't mean they can't. You are worthy. And the universe, I don't think, uses a scarcity pattern. Millions of years of human beings have found people, even against that great adversity. Give Mother Nature a try. She's been successful fairly well.
Right. I love that. Thank you for saying that. So, Dr. Salier, do you mind repeating the four feelings? It's worthiness, cherish.
It, all secure love, as I argue in my book, Safe to Love Again, is based on four feelings. Starts at birth. If you're welcomed as a little child, oh, there's little Natalia. We are so glad you're there. Look at you. That's welcome with joy. Or it shows up at, like, you wake up at 6 1. Hey, gorgeous. What do you mean, gorgeous? Oh, my hair looks terrible. That's
I
welcome.
forgot, thank you.
That's welcome with joy. Worthy. Do you feel worthy? Is it when you reach out, do you make a bid? Do they turn toward it in some way, or do they, oh man, you're really high maintenance, aren't you? That's not. If you feel cherished, someone sees an essence in you they can't get elsewhere. So therefore, it's not just, yeah, they put on the list, maybe, like your husband might have said, I always wanted a blonde, right? My son had that. But he felt this, but his wife gets him, really gets him, and sees something in him. Someone gets your essence that's only with you. That's cherished. And then you feel empowered to have a voice, to have choice, that they share influence. And that all that is done in co-creation mode, a we. Those feelings, welcomed, worthy, cherished, empowered. You get those, you feel pretty loved. You put a we in there, you got lasting. That's your internal GPS. It's the same GPS that tells everybody that they're loved. So if you're dating and you're not feeling one or two of those, you know that's not the right person. If you're a couple and you are habitually giving, oh, yes, giving, or receiving those feelings. Most people know when they receive it, they don't know how they're giving it. That's
Right.
why I work with couples, right? Then this is what needs to get worked on in your relationship. If you're trying to stabilize a dating relationship and you get into the trust building stage, you are tracking those feelings. And if you can make the repairs so you're giving welcome, worthy, cherished, empowered, that's you can go the distance. If you cannot make those repairs, you need to move on. I don't care how much you've invested. Does that make sense?
It does.
So you're tracking feelings.
So
It really is feelings. I track feelings. I don't track compatibility. If you know, like one time when we were really dating, she came over and I had the music on too loud, and she was knocking on the door. And I walked out to the door, opened it, and said, "I'm sorry." You
right.
didn't feel very welcome with joy. No, I didn't. you know, and no, I knew what feeling I gave her. Why fess up right now? Make the repair not now. Don't sit there and think like a lot of guys. Well, maybe if I don't mention it, she won't feel it. Well, that's a losing strategy. You know, no, you're tracking the feelings, and if you're a guy out there listening, feelings, feelings, feelings. You try to fix it. You're dead in the water. Feel fixes, and that fix does not. So you're tracking the feelings. This is your new dating. This is your new way of dating. This is your new way of maintaining. This is your new way of keeping. This is the essence of what secure attachment is.
I love it, and I resonate with that 100%. I am an example of that. My husband is, well, it's like me marrying you. My husband is American too.
Hmm.
So born and raised in Phoenix, and I cannot be more Latina, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I get it so many times with my clients. They're like, oh my God, he's Jewish and I'm Christian, or, that I don't believe those things are important. I think what is important is what you said, how I feel, how he makes me feel, how he treats me, what kind of person he is. Is he open minded? Because if he's Jewish, but he's an Orthodox Jew that is extremely close minded, that's not going to work. But if he's open minded and he, is willing to raise the kids open to learning about Catholic people, learning about, Kwanzaa, learning about, I don't know, the Jewish tradition, of course. Um,
Notice that all those things would allow you to feel uh, empowered with choice.
yes.
Notice again, we can not name this specific, but it is. Do you feel empowered? Do you feel cherished? If someone is coming, and if someone is trying to tell you my experience has to be your experience, this is
Yeah.
how all couples fail. How could you say that about me? That I didn't do this. No, 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 no. It has to be. Gosh, you had that experience. I don't agree with her experience all the time, especially in me, but I have to accept. How? In what way could I have possibly given her that experience, and how do I make a repair? I mean, for me, one of the things was worthy. Worthy is meeting each other's bids. There were times when that accent, I didn't even get the word right. And I
Right.
thought, well, I'll just go on to the next one because I don't, wrong, man. That was poor strategy. And so if I don't get, and sometimes if I don't get that, I go, what did I make sure I track every word. I don't fill in the blanks anymore. That was
Right.
and so, but that's worthy. I want her to feel like if she says something to me, and that's an intercultural thing, right?
Right.
On the other hand, if because I love her, she's worth the extra effort. There's an implicitness with worthiness there, and I make sure that I turn towards as many bids because I know that's being present, that's being grounded, that's feeling given some of the feeling of worthy, and worthy is in short supply for most people these days. If you
Unfortunately.
find something, give it to you. That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh my God. What a beautiful way to end it with those four feelings to look for. There is anything else you would like to say before you share your gift to the audience? Something that I missed, something that you think is important?
Do the work. Do the work. Stop blaming the universe and do the work with yourself. I will never forget the friend I was griping to God and pointing to the universe. And he said, I sincerely hope there's a mirror on that ceiling when you point up like that. Do the work. When you the thing that I've noticed is what the more and more I showed up as love, the more love showed up gradually as better friends and everything. If you want love, but you're bringing in a lot of pain, do the work. It's doable change, especially if you get someone that knows how to do it. Do the work, show up secure, and let your higher self and the universe guide you. The universe is not short on love. That's, and it's out there. And it's your birthright. Grab it. That's what I say. It's
Love
all
it.
doable change, and don't let anybody tell you you're not worthy of it. And don't let any reason. It's there. Somebody else wants to feel love too. Do you both selves a favor, find each other.
Oh, love it. Love it. What about your gift, Dr. Salier?
Say that again.
What about your gift for the
Oh, my
audience?
gift. I believe the one is Dr. Gary's Guide to Lasting Love.
Yes.
And yes, it's that one. And there are three tracks to it. It's three tracks. So if you're not dating and you're afraid to date, that's a whole different track. There's a version of it for that. There's one if you're dating, but it's the same hamster wheel, the same one, the same Groundhog Day, right? Not so cool, right?
No.
And then there's one for couples. Whether now couples can be married or long term, or it could be you're 6 months into a relationship and you're trying to figure out, is this the right one or not? So you get to pick the right, the track that's right for you on what I would call a right to create your own experience.
I love it. That is so, so valuable for the three different experiences that the audience may find themselves in. That's great. So
Yes.
the link is going to be in the description box of this video and also on the email that I sent you. And I will send it to you again in a few days. So don't worry, you're going to find it. Thank you, Dr. Salyer. I just love, love, love having you. You are just amazing, so generous, so dedicated to your work. I mean, it's just so wise and thoughtful. I am fun also. You make it fun. So thank you. And I love that you are marrying an Argentinian woman, of course.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, we're looking forward to it. We really are.
Thank you.
All righty. And thank you all for listening today. My
Yes,
heart to yours. Yes.
second that.